Hi, everybody, and welcome to a topic episode on games my mom found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's playing Gameboy with me tonight?
Michael AA Hughes.
Oh, I am playing a bunch of other things in Game Boy, but Adam from Talk Games Chew Bubblegum.
I've heard of this show.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
And as Adam already said, he does have a podcast that he started. He was inspired by Moa. So definitely go check out Talk Games Chew Bubblegum. There'll be a link in the show notes and wherever you get your podcast. Oh, sorry. It's on Spotify and other podcasts, not on Stitcher.
Not on Stitcher. I got to bring it up every time.
I'm using Spotify now, so I can listen to his show.
Good old spoofy.
And Mike, why don't you introduce what this topic is about, since this is your idea?
It's not just a topic. This is a top 10, which I think is a first for the show.
It is a first.
We are talking about top 10 handheld games, our personal top 10. I wanted to do just DS, and Mike's like, I haven't played a lot of DS. I'm like, well, we'll do 3DS and DS. It's like, yeah, I still haven't played a lot. Like, I'll just do all of handheld gaming, though.
I mean, if it was top DS, 3DS, I mean, you just look at what's been on the show, that would be about the answer what I played, which is not much.
I think the only caveat I put in was like no Switch and nothing like the Sega Nomad that just plays Genesis games, because that's cheating.
That's fair.
You know, I should have introduced it saying it's our first top 10, not topic.
No, it's okay.
I'm not going to go back and fix it now.
I was going to say, problem for future Mike that won't get solved.
So, and I think we should. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna list the 10. You know, we'll go from 10 counting down to 1, and then we'll each kind of go around, talk about the game that we picked, and talk about it, and then kind of go from there and see where we end up. It's gonna be weird doing a top 10.
Curious to see if we're gonna have any overlap.
I was curious about that too, because there are some, when you think handheld games, there's definitely games that we've all played and we all love, and I know 1 to 2 series, so I try to stay away from them, but I definitely know we're gonna hear maybe some overlays.
Okay, I don't think there's gonna be as much as you think, though. Yeah, because
I think maybe like 1 or 2 between the 3 of us. But yeah, I also tried to stay away from re-releases and ports, because that's also just too easy. Same. As much as Mike would like to put Chrono Trigger at number 1 for DS.
I didn't want to, because it wasn't right. Even though it is the best version of it, the DS version. But still, it isn't right for a top 10 handheld, because it's a Super Nintendo game.
Right. Yeah, I really wanted to put Final Fantasy IV, but I stayed away from it.
That's a weird way to pronounce 6.
Yeah, fair enough.
One day I will play For the Complete Collection. I've only bought it twice, but one day I will play it.
I'll play it.
I keep telling myself that.
I like the sprites in that game. They're super cool looking.
I bought it the day it came out for PSP, and I stopped. And I played it again. I stopped.
All I know is that the after years people say really isn't worth playing.
It's Cecil and Rosa. I mean, of course it's worth playing. It doesn't matter what the hell the story. I love that. It's no 6, but I love 4. All right, we're not here for that. So why don't we start with 10? I'll go first. I'm pretty sure my 10 is, again, I didn't have a lot. And I try to pick games that had stuck with me over time, not games that I consider the best. They're just games that, like, to me, that really have stuck with me. And the first one is, thanks to Mike, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief 4DS. Came out in 2010. Now, we did a whole episode on this game. You can please go listen. People do every month for some reason. Yeah. And it's a turn-style RPG, and it just blew me away with how much fun it was on my phone. It's just the strangest little simple RPG that is somehow super entertaining. The touchscreen stuff isn't too bad, and I can't stop thinking about it. I will never play it again. I will probably not even recommend it to people to play, but it was actually I will. I have. But it's so much fun. It is such a good game.
It's very simple for RPG standards. Like, probably not as simple as Mystic Quest, but it's a little around there.
Oh, it's probably more simpler than Mystic Quest. I didn't get stuck on it for 2 years.
Yeah, that's how I roped you into it, was saying that the overworld map was a lot like Mystic Quest, where you just move from point to point. That's right.
Beat it in like 2 days. I couldn't stop playing. I remember I was sitting in a restaurant with my wife and her friends, and I'm just sitting there playing Percy Jackson while they're talking. I just could not stop playing. It is such a good turn-style RPG. It is a really good game. If you like turn-style RPGs, you like Percy. Even if you don't like Percy, it doesn't matter. Just play the game. You're highly
interested. I don't know anything about Percy Jackson, but the way you're talking about this game, I'm actually really interested.
If you like Greek gods and you're into that, you'll enjoy the game enough to make you want to play.
Fair enough.
That's all you need to know. And I would say if you have an Android phone, play it on your phone. But it's also cheap for DS. It's like $5 at GameStop or something.
Nice.
If you can find it.
It's not eBay too. It is not an expensive game. It didn't do well. It's a license-based game, but it is such a fun little RPG. All right, Adam, how about your number 10?
My number 10 was a PSP game that was a third-person heavy metal zombie game. It was called Infected. This game was definitely some tongue-in-cheek humor, but essentially on Christmas Day during a lighting ceremony, zombies come out, and apparently you're the only person whose blood can cure the virus. And during this game, you chain, it's like a chain system. So you have to weaken the zombies with one gun, switch to another gun that contains your blood, and then it'll explode the zombies. And
Interesting.
The more, like, the better your combos get, the better your guns get. All done to, like, in a fantastic soundtrack with like Chimera and Slipknot, just heavy metal. Like, it fits the mood. But the really
fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic, marvelous, stupendous. But the really cool thing was you could go online with this, and while you're online, you could create your own virus essentially. And so anybody that you killed, you would get infected, and then therefore when they killed somebody, they would infect them. And then you could periodically look and see how much your infection had grown, during your time playing multiplayer and stuff like that.
That sounds kind of cool.
It was cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I spent a lot of hours on it, mainly due to it was like one of the only PSP games I had at the time. But yeah, PSP. To this day, I wish I could get a PSP and the servers were still up and play it, because it was fun. It was just heavy metal zombie killing fun.
I definitely feel like I've seen this cover art before of the black hand with just the logo in front of it. Looks very familiar.
I've seen it. I remember when it came out. I didn't play it ever, but I remember it.
Yeah,
it's fun. I might have to check this out.
It was a lot of fun, and a great character creator too. So
that's always a plus.
Exactly.
I don't like creating characters. I just want to pick whatever the game has. I don't like it.
But even if you don't play it, you should go look up the intro and see what I mean by just over the top humor. Just the intro is funny.
And how about you, Mike? You're number 10.
I kind of cheated for my number 10. It's 999, 9 hours, 9 person, 9 doors, / zero escape, Virtue's last reward. Because VRL is the better game, or VLR. But to get the full appreciation, you really need to have played 999 first. And they're both visual novels, more or less, but they drop you into these puzzle segments. They're basically like escape rooms where you have to go around and look for items that help you unlock other things to get other items to get out of the room. But the story is what really carries it. Like, I won't get into too much of it because it gets spoilery pretty quick, but 999 has 9 people trapped in this sinking ship, and they all have bombs strapped to them, and they have to basically get through this game to escape with their lives if they can. And then VLR just continues the story. It's a lot more of the same, but like I said, I won't get too far into them. And it's only this low on my list because once you do the puzzles for the first time, there's not a whole lot to go back to, unfortunately. But they are both still worth checking out.
And you're right, that was cheating.
Yeah, well.
So I played 999, and I'm glad you brought it up because I never finished it. And I've been wanting to remember what that DS game was that I was playing so I could go back and finish it.
Awesome.
So right off the bat, I need to say thank you.
We're 1 for 1 then, because I'm going to look up Infected.
And you can look up Percy Jackson.
Right.
Man, I cannot stress how much fun I had with Percy Jackson, okay? Like, I can't stress how much that game was as a simple turnstile RPG. Oh, it's $1 on GameStop.com if they had it. It's $1.
Nice.
Okay. So if you ever see it, pick it up. You will be surprised. Or I mean, technically, just playing on your damn phone, but it's not like they're going to re-release it. It's a name brand thing.
Are we back on your number 10, Mike?
Or number 9?
You went back to Percy Jackson.
All right, I'll do number 9. Number 9 is for me is a more known title. This one actually, this was almost an honorable mention, but then I decided, nah, it can be number 9. It can go above Percy Jackson, and that is Metroid Zero Mission for Game Boy Advance in 2004. In my opinion, the best Metroid game that I have played. On the 3 I played.
Oh yeah, you're not super into Super.
I've only played Super once. I didn't really. I mean, that was 2 years ago for a podcast, and it's just Yeah, I didn't really like it the first time. I need to go back to it. But Zero Mission, it's not that hard. It's not that long. I never got confused. I never got lost. The game doesn't hold my hand and say, go in this exact room, and you go right over here and go exactly this way like Fusion, and it doesn't kill me in 2 hits like Fusion. I get enough power-ups. The enemies aren't overwhelming. The game is not too confusing, and the story is interesting, and it's a great little Game Boy Advance game. You can beat it in like 3-4 hours, and it is by far out of the Metroid games that I've played, the 3 for the show, it is my favorite, and I really, really like that game. I think it's a great game that doesn't get enough love because it's not super challenging. Yes, it's a remake of 1, but I think it does enough things differently, at least, add it because it's been years at this point from the time they made it, that it's enough of a different game on its own. Hey, this is where we got Sexy Samus from in Zero Suit.
Yeah.
True.
Which went on to spawn so many other things over time. So, we owe it to Metroid Zero Mission. That's my number 9.
Somewhere in Texas, Bill Tucker's real mad and he doesn't know why.
Does he not like Zero Mission?
He likes Super. That was his favorite game until that Mega Man X episode.
Super is probably a good game. I need to go back and replay it now that I'm a better gamer and better Metroidvania and see what I think. But my problem with Metroid will probably still be there, how you get lost. In Zero Mission, I don't get lost. I mean, I did the same thing with Zero Mission I do every Metroidvania game. I printed a map and had a laminated map next to me while I played the game. So I'm getting a nice collection of laminated maps throughout this podcast. I have 3 so far. How about you, Adam? You're number 9.
So I wish I could remember more of this game. And it's because it came out in 2003 and it introduced me to the tactics-based games. And it was Final Fantasy Tactics for the Game Boy Advance. I loved this game, and it was because it was one of the first times that I really had to sit and think and plan my battles. And up until my gaming career, this wasn't something I had ever done before. And learning how to change the job class just to make sure the mission was going well, and just the patience that it washed over me as a gamer. Like, you don't always have to try to speed run everything. In fact, you can't in this. And yeah, I remember putting hours upon hours into it, and I almost wanted to pick it up again just so I could talk a little bit more about it before we did this episode. But then I realized I have other games I need to play, and I did not want to get sucked back down that hole.
Well, first, I have to say, fuck this game. I gotta get that in there before.
I started it up recently, actually, because I own it, I think, somewhere. But I haven't played it in so long. I know it gets a lot of flack because of the judgment system, where it gives you the different rules that you're not allowed to do during battles. I think that's kind of a cool idea to mix up the battles so you can't just keep spamming the same thing over and over.
Yeah. I'll just repeat what I said. Fuck this game. I have a history with this game, and it's not nice. So I have played it twice.
Yeah, if it wasn't for this game, I would have probably never have found my love for the Disgaea series.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's a lot that I owe to this game. But
it's a good game. It's just hard. Sorry, I have feelings about this game. I played it right before I met Tiff, and I stopped playing it because I met Tiff, and I'm like, I don't have time. And I just fell off it because I was busy having a girlfriend again. And I played it a long time ago when on emulator, and I just could not get through it. Where my buddy Rich beat it, and it's one of those games I someday got to do, and I can't do it. Can't finish it. So I have a bonus.
So don't expect it on the show anytime soon?
You can put it on the show. I'll play it. I was swearing a lot during it, but I would play it. I don't think you will, because it's like 50, 60 hours, so I'm okay.
No, I've got plenty of other games to torture you with.
Nice.
And what is your number 9?
My number 9 is my only Game Boy game on my list. What? The Pokemon trading card game for the original Game Boy.
Nice.
Because
almost made the list.
Because I love the Pokemon TCG, and to be able to just have it all in a cartridge makes it very convenient instead of, lugging around 60 individual cards and much more arduous process of trying to find someone to play with. It's just, especially nowadays, it's just not possible. Even more so nowadays because of the stupid pandemic garbage. But yeah, this is still a game I go back to every couple of years and just play through it. It's such a blast for people like me that are too dumb to play Magic the Gathering. We have Pokemon trading card game.
Hey, I feel that. I feel that exact way. Like I said, it was on, I had a bunch of other games because you said there might be overlapping. And that was one of them. I was like, just in case somebody takes it, you know what? I got this one. So nice. Awesome.
And it has the best battle theme. I love that.
And it came with an awesome card. I think it came like with a Ancient Mew or something. Or no, it came with... What did it come
Ancient
with?
Mew was from the theater.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was the
it
theater.
came with the Game Boy exclusive Meow.
Yeah, I
I
think
wanna
you're right.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I don't remember. I know I had it.
That was the reason I bought it, the game, was for the card. And then I realized I could learn to play the game through this, and I had a lot more fun with it, collecting the cards after that.
I'm so mad I gave all my cards away when I was younger.
Same.
But my wife and I still buy each other packs every so often, though, the newer ones. Even though we'll probably never use them, they're still fun to have.
I had a bunch of cards too. I don't know what happened to them anymore. They're probably in my parents' house still. But I have no idea. It's a good game though.
Yep, I love it.
We played on the show, episode 15.
It'll
I
be
think
back.
15 or 14. It's somewhere early on there. I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, it's up there.
I don't recommend the early episodes ever anymore. So
Yeah, well, we'll fix
they're just
that.
not. Just some of those audio quality is not good. All right, I think we should do. I'll do my number 8. This one I've thrown for a loop that you guys will not be expecting. Dragon Ball Z Legendary Super Saiyan Warriors for Game Boy Color in 2002.
Nope, not on my list, believe it or not.
Again, this list is mostly based off games that meant a lot to me. I didn't get in Dragon Ball Z until I was in high school. I want to say like 2000, 2002, probably 2003. And a friend of mine who I'd met in my freshman year, and he was big in Dragon Ball Z, but there weren't a lot of Dragon Ball Z games at that time for like PS2 and stuff like that. And this was a Game Boy Color game, and he bought it for some reason. I don't remember why we had it, but he had it and he had it in school. And we were playing it. He'd played it in school and stuff. And it's a action game. It's a turnstile card game where you pick cards or your attacks. And you go through the entire Dragon Ball Z saga all the way from when he fights Raditz to the very end with Kid Buu. And it encompasses the whole thing with so many different characters. And I love this game. I actually went back and beat it before the podcast started because I just needed to play it again. It was almost on the show multiple times, but since Mike is not a Dragon Ball Z fan, and it's 2002, I don't want to make him suffer and hate me. So,
Oh God, it is. I missed that.
oh yeah, 2002. But it's a turn-based card fighting game, and you can move around on the map. You get all the characters that you can get throughout. Like you get so many characters throughout this game. I forget how many there are, but it is so much fun. There are 30 battles in story mode. Like I say, go through the whole series, and it's such a great little game.
Sprites
It's
are
probably
adorable.
not, but I love it so much. So that's my number 8.
Does it go through the tournament, the world tournament?
Is that Dragon Ball? I think it. What do you mean with Hercule?
I don't know.
Into
It's
the Cell
the
Saga?
only arc I've seen. is them all in the tournament where Gohan's Great Saiyaman and whatnot, and Videl like kicks some guy and his neck spins all the way around, but he had some kind of drug, so he didn't die.
Was that during the Cell Saga?
I stopped at the Cell Saga, so my knowledge is gone at that point.
I think it is. I can't remember that part, but
It's a great game, and that's it. Probably isn't, but I really like it. How about you, Adam?
Oh, I may make y'all mad with this pick. and I have to apologize because somebody's going to get angry at me for choosing this game. But I have said it once. It's a guilty pleasure of mine, and it's a fantastic handheld game. And that's Angry Birds.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I cannot tell y'all how excited I used to get for Angry Birds games, whether it was Angry Birds 2, Star Wars, all just as long as I had a slingshot and I was tossing these birds into pigs. It was the perfect time killer, and I would play it for hours on end, not meaning to. Of course, the original set the tone for everything. Some of the spinoffs like Transformers didn't hold true to the Angry Birds formula that I love, but I mean, everybody knows it. Everybody's played it, I hope. Yeah, but I'm just such a sucker for slinging birds very viciously.
I was not expecting Angry Bird to be on here, even though I've heard you talk about it before on your show, but I was not expecting it.
It's better than Flappy Bird.
Oh
Man, Flappy
there
Bird,
goes
there was
my
that
number
1
one
week.
pick.
That was a good week before the game got shut down.
Not as good as the 1 month of Pokemon Go.
So, while we're talking about Angry Birds, is Transformers like a completely different style of game then? Is the
It's
Angry Birds one?
More of an action game, I think.
It's an auto runner,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
so
You kind of like shoot things in the background, right?
yeah, you're shooting things in the background while like trying to like jump over and avoid things in the foreground. You get power-ups and you can like transform into the car, so like if something's about to fall on you, you can go faster. But yeah,
I don't remember watching Game Informer play this. Otherwise, I would have zero knowledge of it.
You never played Angry Birds?
The original Transformers.
Okay. I played the original. I played a ton of Rio, and I played a little bit of Star Wars. I had the Angry Bird collection on 360, and I played a lot of that.
Yeah,
nice
for my son.
But it started as a handheld game.
Yeah, no, it's a handheld game. I mean, it's best played on a phone. But okay, that's not what I expected.
I figured Adam was going to be the wild card in this. Like, I could guess probably a few of Mike's picks, and like, no, mine are out there, but they're all. Everyone's gonna be like, oh yeah. Adam was it's like, oh, I mean, you weren't expecting
Super Saiyan Warriors, Legendary Super Saiyan Warriors, now were you?
That's accurate, yes.
And what is your 8th pick, Mike?
My 8th pick is Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations, the 3rd one, which I almost cheated again and put the trilogy that released on 3DS, which has all 3 of them, but I like Trials and Tribulations as the best story because the main story runs across multiple cases, and then it has like the best finale in the series as it wraps up. And I'm not going to get too much into it. If you know Phoenix Wright, you know what to expect. And I have a feeling the first game at least is going to be on the show someday.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, they're real good.
Good pick. That was a good pick.
They're good games.
They have awesome music.
I wouldn't know. Last time I played it on my phone, and I just had it muted, and I would just play random times, and I was not doing other stuff I should have been doing. I'm just going to leave the sentence at that. But it was a few years ago, and it's a good game. I'd be up for it. All right, and number 7. I went with something that, again, 2001 Game Boy Advance game that means a lot to me. Advance Wars. Advance Wars, I think, is a great game. I mean, I have never been able to get very far in Advance Wars 2 because the game just wipes the floor with me every time I play it. I've never played Dual Strike, never played Days of Ruin, but I really like this first game. I played it on emulators for the first time back in early 2000s, maybe 2 or 3. And then a couple years ago, before the podcast, I went back to it again. And it's such a good game. You get to pick different commanding officers that you use that have different abilities. You build little troops. I like RTSs, but this is a very turn-based, simple RTS game, and it's so much fun to play. I mean, even if you fuck up and make bad decisions, you can still usually recover from them, and there aren't that many different style of units to build, and it's a really good game. If you never played it, it is really worth picking up. I don't know if you can buy it on anything currently, because it's Nintendo, and they don't always release stuff anymore, but play it any way you can. It's definitely...
Weird. My game only had one CO, and it was Sammy.
I don't like Sammy.
What?
Andy.
She's adorable.
So that
troops are better.
That one was on my list. Yep. And so now I'm glad I brought more because that was going to be coming up. So like I'm like, damn.
But yeah, good taste.
Advance Wars is on something. If you're one of the 3 people out there that have a Wii U, you can buy it on the virtual console on there.
There is a spiritual successor to the game on Steam. I wish I own it and I've played it, but that doesn't help us out right now.
What is that called? Wargroove.
No, there's another one.
Wargroove would come up when you Google that.
Wargroove is the one that I've heard compared to Advance Wars.
No, this was
Tiny Metal?
Tiny Metal, yes, Tiny Metal. And it is good. If you ever had a hankering to play Advanced Wars without playing Advanced Wars, I highly recommend this one.
Okay. I'm going to look up Tiny Metal. Add it to my wish list, I think.
It's cute.
I think you want to play Wargroove someday.
Started it when it was on Game Pass, but I don't remember a whole lot. I've always sucked at Advance Wars. I don't know what it is about it.
Well, 1 is you can play differently. 2 is very, like, you have to do certain things. I have never been able to get through 2. I could die so quickly. Someday 1 will be on the show.
Play Battalion Wars. Does that count?
No. Not at all. That's not Advance Wars, even though it kind of looks like it came out around the same time on GameCube. But
I think it's supposed to be in the same universe.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Oh, I never played it. I had no interest in it.
Yeah.
It wasn't Advance Wars, so I didn't care. Advance Wars just did something that really got my interest, and it's how he stuck with me to this day. Just that one, because it's not that hard either till the end. The end is really hard, but other than that, it's not bad. Huge difficulty climb in the last couple missions. But other than that, it's doable. Very doable.
I don't get along with difficulty spikes anymore.
You're old.
As we found out in Robotech, it's like, no. And
okay, that wasn't difficulty spikes. That was, let's just piss them off.
And Gotcha Force.
And Adam, what is your number 7?
My number 7 is SNK versus Capcom, Match of the Millennia for Neo Geo Pocket Color.
I'll say that 3 times fast.
I will not and cannot. I love fighting games. And where I was from, there wasn't a huge selection of Neo Geo games, but I was lucky enough to be able to find this one. Now, the Neo Geo Pocket Color didn't have too many buttons. So for a fighting game, 2 buttons is kind of hard to incorporate a game that normally uses 4. But depending on how hard you press the buttons, you had your light and your heavy. And the game played really great. The graphics were done in a really simple pixel style art that really worked for what it was. And it was smooth. You could do combos. It wasn't... if you've ever played a fighting game on a handheld, they take away a lot of stuff. But they remade this game for this style, and it worked out perfectly. And it's actually coming out on Nintendo Switch on the 17th.
Oh, wow.
So it's really interesting, and I'm happy that I get to play it again. And hopefully there's online capabilities. But yeah, you even had your like grooves, so you could choose 3 different grooves if you wanted like more power and parrying, or like your rush down type thing. I played way too many hours of it, and if I still had my Neo Geo Pocket Color, I would still be playing it to this day.
But it doesn't have Cammy on the roster, so I can't accept this.
It does have 8 unlockable characters, but yeah, Cammy was not one of them.
Evil Ryu, he's good.
Yeah.
And
Akuma.
if this show has taught me anything, Mike will play any game with Cammy on it. Even if they have roller skates in the game, he'll play it with Cammy's in it.
Even if it's Cannon Spike.
Uh,
That game was fun.
It was actually a lot of fun. But yeah, if you're a fighting game fan at any form and just want like a simplified but still a fighter at heart, I highly recommend this game.
It reminds me of Pocket Fighter on the PlayStation.
Without all the kind of cartoony gimmicks that Pocket Fighter had, but just the character style, exactly.
See, that's what I was talking about. I did not expect to see your Neo Geo Pocket Color on this list.
You wouldn't have without him. I didn't even know it existed completely until I just Googled it now. I'm like, yeah, so I have no experience with Neo Geo, unfortunately.
I'm a huge SNK fan, so I had to get it for the Metal Slug. And they actually had a Sonic game that was really good for it, too. But
I'm surprised I've never emulated Neo Geo. I know I've looked into it, but it's all fighting games. I just don't care.
Yeah, Windjammers.
Oh, wow. Is that where it started?
What's that?
Is that where Windjammers started, or that was arcade, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's still SNK, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
By the way, I Googled Windjammer, somehow I got iron-hulled sailing ships, so I don't know what the hell just happened just now. Yeah, it took me right back there. I typed it again, just took me right back to iron-hulled sailing ships.
It's like volleyball-ish.
Volleyball meets tennis meets frisbee.
There you go.
And Mike, what is your number 7?
Number 7 comes from one of my favorite franchises, and it's one of, looks like 3 first-party Nintendo games on my list. That is Kirby Planet Robobot for the 3DS. Because Kirby's already awesome, and they put him in a little mech, and it also gets power abilities. So, I don't think I need to go on.
You should, just because, but you don't need to tell me, no. But you can tell me.
I've never heard of this.
Oh, it's amazing. So Kirby can still get the firepower, but he can get in the mech, and the mech can scan the fire enemy, and it gets firepower, so it gets little flamethrowers for arms. It's such a blast.
I didn't know there was a Kirby game I've never played.
3DS was easily emulatable, so Mike could play it. It would absolutely have been on the show already.
I think I might own it. I'm actually checking my collection right now.
Oh, awesome.
I have Kirby Triple Action Deluxe, though, I found out.
That's a good one. Triple Deluxe is good. Star Allies is good. Planet Robobot's the best.
I'm going to be going on eBay after this or seeing if the GameStop close to me has it, because I need to play this.
I know I don't.
A little more.
I thought I did, but I don't. I never bought it, apparently.
Oh, that's okay. I'll play it by myself.
Hey, I would play this, so...
It's real good. And introduces
I don't use it.
The Doctor ability and the Poison ability, which are both super fun to use too.
And it's $35 on GameStop.
It's first party Nintendo.
I was gonna say it's Nintendo.
I don't know what you expected.
I didn't expect $35 on GameStop. I don't like $35 on GameStop. Okay, that's not what I was not expecting that, but I don't blame you.
Made Emmanuel real happy, I'm sure.
All right, and I think it's time for number 6. And I'll go first. My number 6 is a game that my favorite game of this franchise, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin.
Uh-oh.
I figured.
Yeah, this is the one I expected to have overlap on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't played all the DS ones. I have to put that in first. I've only played this one DS one. I have played the 3 Game Boy Advance ones, but I really like Portrait of Ruin. I think this game is just high quality. It's decently linked. It's very interesting. You get to play as Jonathan Morse. It continues Bloodline story, which is a Genesis game, which we also did an episode on the show. And it's just a really good game. It's always stuck with me, and I really can't wait to go back and play it again someday soon. I'm sure.
And more importantly, you get to play as Charlotte, and they introduced magic to the series for the first time.
I don't play as Charlotte. Screw her.
Oh, she's awesome.
I just want to whip things. I don't want to play as her. I don't ever play as her. I just use the guy that whips.
How dare you?
You shouldn't be surprised. And what about your number 6, Adam?
My number 6 is a game called Locke's Quest for the 3DS.
Oh.
Heard of this?
Yeah, so best way to put it, it is a real-time strategy tower defense game. There's waves of enemies coming at you, and you can build walls and turrets and all that kind of stuff using your handy wrench weapon. And then in between rounds, depending on the materials, you can build more stuff or fix what you have, and are like, well, they're coming from over here, I can build a wall and then try to get them to funnel in. But I can't really remember the story. I suck at remembering games back from 2008. I put a lot of time in it, and it was just really interesting. I love the art style, and it was just fun. And obviously, as the game goes on, you can get more things to build and take down the enemies. Yeah. Oh. And I know they re-released it on modern day systems too, like PlayStation 4 and PC and Xbox. So
yeah, it's on Steam for $15, and I apparently own it for some reason. I bought it, and one of my Fanatical bundles probably. So just to let you know that, Mike.
One of the enemies looks like Dr. Doom, so that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I wish I could remember the ins and outs of it. I'm going to have to go through and play it again, so I apologize. But I put a lot of hours into it. I know that much.
That's what matters. I mean, about games that have resonated with you over the years.
Exactly.
What about you, Mike? Number 6.
Number 6 is Ghost Trick for the DS. Another Capcom game, another visual novel where you start out the game and your main character is dead. So you play as his ghost. He has no memories, trying to figure out why he's dead, what happened. And it's just this story that interweaves through all these other characters that you meet. So you're trying to solve your murder before sunrise, where you will cease to exist. And you do this by possessing different objects to solve puzzles.
That's why. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh, I understand now.
Yeah, so far we've ticked the power copy in the box and the possession box. So... checking all my tropes for Mike. But it's super inventive, and it's absolutely worth playing if you haven't played it before. If you want a good murder story, I guess, you solve a few of them throughout the game.
If you want a good murder story, just play Heavy Rain.
And a good one.
Heavy Rain.
We'll talk about
it. Okay. I should have known Ghost Trick was going to end up on this list, though.
Yeah. I tried to get you to play it, and you started it, and then I don't think you played past the first section.
I didn't even actually play it. I just put it on my device, and that was as far as I got. You know how to make me play it if you want to. So
it would fit as a Spooktober game.
All right, and now it's time for number 5. My number 5 is another game that's been on the show: Metal Gear Solid for the Game Boy Color, or better known as Metal Gear Ghost Battle. For Game Boy Color in 2000. I love this game. This is a great Metal Gear game. This is maybe one of my favorite Metal Gear games. 3 could not do it last time when I played it. So,
oh wow,
I really like this little game. I unfortunately have never. This was my first top-down Metal Gear game I ever played, because I didn't play Metal Gear 1 or 2 until I actually just recently played Metal Gear 2 for episode 52 or so, 53. And this game is just so good to me. Like I think it's a blast to play. I played it 2 years ago, and I still really enjoyed it. It's super well done. It's not too long. It's a great little handheld game you can play in parts. The enemies that you fight, the bosses, are actually like I think they're a great team of villains compared to some of the villains, like Metal Gear Solid 3. And I love that game. Metal Gear Solid 2, better teams than that. Like they make sense. I mean, one guy has ravens, but hey, nobody's on roller skates and nobody's in a wheelchair sleeping for most of the game. So, and no one's got bees. But it's a really well done game. It's not canon to the storyline. It's its own little thing, but it's definitely a game that I always love talking about and going back to. And unfortunately, there's no way to actually play it anymore because they're not gonna re-release it. So
not
play it any way you can. It's a great little story.
I think it's a quote on the back of the box: Metal Gear Solid, Ghost Babel, no one's got bees.
Hey, it's a good game. You played it before, Mike?
I think I own it somewhere.
Is the answer I'm looking for no, I take it?
I played it. I don't know that I beat it.
Okay. You're missing out.
I had this, and I had the perfect Dark Game Boy Color game, but I don't know what happened to either of them.
Because this game has gas at one point where you can't breathe, so you won't.
Oh well, yeah, we discussed that yesterday.
Yeah, and we'll be discussing that next week, or in this case, a couple week ago or two, when you hear this. And Adam, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is Fire Pro Wrestling for the Game Boy Advance.
Oh man, I always wanted to check out this series.
It's the series has stayed the same concept. Honestly, the graphics just get more rounded and less jaggy, but you have so much customization available to you. You can create any wrestler ever imagined. The moves, the clothes, you have the ability to do it. It's overwhelming at times trying to create a character. It plays really weird. It kind of like an isometric top down, and you have to watch your stamina. At any point, you can do any kind of move you want. If you want to go out and try to throw out your finisher right in the beginning, you can. You don't need to build up for it. It's assigned to a button, but you got to work them down. You got to watch how you're running, and you have to lay down and breathe. You can also hold back on your attacks, so that way when you're hitting an opponent, they don't hurt them as much, but it gets the crowd entertained, so you can have a longer match. And that goes into the aspect of wrestling. You don't want to just go out there and watch a squash match. You want it to kind of be back and forth. So while you're doing some of these moves, you have to remember to also hold back on them a little bit. And it is just a blast. The Game Boy Advance version was just, your bare bones. There's no story mode or anything like that, but you still had your death matches and hardcore modes, and you can even do like UFC mixed martial arts. You have the octagon, and then you can create a character that only does those kinds of moves, submissions and hits, and just this kind of suplexes that would make sense for that character. I am obsessed with this game, and I will buy any Fire Pro that ever comes out, and it's because this was the first one that ever introduced me to the series, because I'm a wrestling nerd at heart. So yeah.
Believe how long this series has been around. It looks like the first one came out in 1989 in arcades, and there's been almost 30 games in the series. The last one came out in 2017/2018 for PC and PS4. Mm-hmm. It's wild.
And I put a lot of time into that one as well, because it introduced actual wrestlers from New Japan, so you get to play as some big name characters, which you could always, at their pre-generated characters, you'd be like, oh well, that's definitely supposed to be Hulk Hogan, or that's supposed to be Ric Flair, but there's actually like Kenny Omega and a bunch of other wrestlers. I won't get into it, but yeah, it's
we're not the audience for it, but
exactly, yeah. But it's fun if you like wrestling games and have a few hours to kill, because
making a character.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause that's just creating a character.
That would be a problem for me.
We learned that during the Mass Effect episode.
Oh, yeah. Are you sure anyone can hear that episode?
I don't recommend it, but you can.
Audio quality is so bad when I talk. And Mike, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is Castlevania Portrait of Ruin.
Yeah, good pick.
Having the dual characters added a lot of variety to the game, especially Charlotte, as previously mentioned. And it was cool that it had multiple locations. You weren't just stuck in the castle. You went to 1942. What's the first? Berlin? Is it Berlin?
I don't remember.
I don't know. You go to a pyramid. You go to a haunted circus. It's a lot of variety to it that you wouldn't see in the other Castlevania games. And then, yeah, everything Mike said. It's good.
And it has one of the worst final boss fights, but whoo, is it good? I mean, it's just hard as hell. So.
Oh, and I have played all the DS games, and it's still my favorite, so don't feel too bad.
Okay. I've just never Never have for some reason.
Yeah, well, someday.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I need to play them because I know I'm missing out on Order of Ecclesia especially, and Dawn of Sorrow.
I think the only one I've ever played is Aria of Sorrow.
It's real good.
Good game. Also been on the show. I like being able to say that. I just want to let you know. All right, and I'll do number 4. My number 4 is another game that stuck with me because it's a game I played when I was a kid, which tends to be a system I have going on here. Kirby's Dream Land 2 for Game Boy from 1995. I love this game. Like, I played it for the shows. I already gushed about it on there. But to me, it is my favorite Kirby game of all the Kirby. Well, there's not very many I played yet. But it is such a good game. I got it for Game Boy because my friend of mine let me borrow it. I don't remember why, but he let me borrow it, and I just had it for a while. I just really enjoyed it, and I have never not liked this game. It is just, you get it's the first game of the Animal Buddies. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, out of the few Kirby I played, like, it's the best. It is just such a good little game. It's not super challenging, and it's so much fun. And when we went back to it and played it earlier, I just had nothing but a blast, and I beat it in like 2 days. I just had so much fun. Except for that secret boss. The secret boss
was going to say, you said it wasn't that hard, and I'm like, asterisk.
That secret boss is miserable. Everything else in the game, amazing. But fuck that secret boss. When you get through, you get all the little parts to unlock the last world. Other than that, great game. Highly recommended. I don't know if it's downloadable anywhere anymore.
I think it's on the 3DS Virtual Console. I think both of them are, the first two. Okay. That was episode 82. If you want to go back and listen to that, it was one of my first ones.
All right, so that's my... And how about you, Adam?
So I don't ever really talk about this series so much because I think it's overrated. But this version or this entry into the game made me a believer, and I love it. And it's Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars for the Nintendo DS.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah, and I've always just... Like I said, I think Grand Theft Auto games are overrated. They do a lot of things great, but they've never really held my attention. This comes back after 4. I think around after 4, this is when the game makes its appearance, and it goes back to the top-down view, cel-shaded graphics, and then, of course, you get to use the DS stylus and touchscreen for things, but it makes sense. Like making a Molotov cocktail so you can throw, you're just putting the rag into the bottle and slinging it. And it wasn't overdone. It had a really good story, which is one of the things that I always forget about Grand Theft Autos because I end up just seeing how many stars I can get. But I stayed true to the story in this one. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I know they eventually made it on PSP. And I don't know if it ever came out for consoles. But
Apple and Android it came out for.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was one of the ones they ported to the PS2, but I think I was just Liberty and Vice City Stories.
Yes, and Liberty City Stories with Tony and Lance, respectively.
But yeah, it really fun. I enjoyed it, and it's probably my favorite Grand Theft Auto to this day.
That's another one I downloaded recently and played about 10 minutes of it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't do this overhead thing anymore.
Oh.
I've always meant to play this game. Never have, and don't know if I ever will, but I've always meant to.
So the weirdest part that kept me is kind of like a side thing that you can do in the game, and that's sell drugs. And you can buy different ones and go to different parts of the town and see like, oh, well, it's selling for more over here. And it's just the easy way to make money. And I kind of did that more. Treated it like the stock market almost.
Sounds like Sid Meier's Pirates.
Yeah, there you go.
What about you, Mike?
Speaking of series that may or may not be overrated, sorry, Kristen, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep for the PSP. It has, in my opinion, the best combat in the series because it's not just you mash the attack button. You have different commands and command styles and finish styles and shot locks and keyblades, and there's a lot to it. And you can meld the commands and make new ones and level them up, and they get different abilities that you can attach onto them. And it has Aqua, and that's the most important thing. But it's fun. It's got the story is as nonsensical as the rest of the series, unfortunately. But the combat
would disagree with you if he heard you right.
So would Kristen. So I'm sure I'll hear about when she listens to this episode. But the combat is super fun, and it's the reason why I go back to it time and time again.
I always have wanted to play this. I bought a PSP with the intent to play this, and I still have yet to play it.
I think that game was why I bought a PSP as well.
One day I'll play this game, but it always looked so interesting to me.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out.
Someday we're going to do the Kingdom Hearts series, but
oh, God. That's quite that's almost as bad as saying we're going to do all the MCU. That's quite the task.
Who would ever do something like that?
Yeah, someone crazy.
Yeah, some idiot who didn't think about it when he started it. And that brings us to number 3 then, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not used to doing these top 10. It's weird.
Wait, we just did 4?
Yeah, I think we just did 4.
Oh, God, I lost count.
Yeah, we just did 4. So now we're on to 3.
Yeah, y'all go big over here on games my mom found. We only do like 5 normally. Damn.
Oh, man.
Top 10 handheld. You know? We got to compete with Mojo. Mojo plays.
Don't watch Mojo. Mike's like, I don't know if the top 10 will do good. I'm like, well, I mean, people watch Mojo every single day, so I think we got a good chance at getting top 10s to catch on.
Yeah, we'll probably do more of these. So my number 3 is Super Mario Land 2 for the Game Boy, 1992. Again, this is another thing from my childhood. I've talked about it on the first episode. Mike officially was on the show. Right?
78.
And I love this game. When I was a kid, I never could get anywhere. Like, I would just redo the levels over and over and over again because I could never beat certain ones. I could never beat Wario. I just wasn't good enough. But I've always enjoyed playing it. I always felt so good just to pick up the game and just play it for like a little bit when, my Game Boy and then my Game Boy actually was, I didn't have batteries for my Game Boy because my dad wouldn't buy me batteries. Instead, he bought me a charger and I would have to sit in one chair and plug in my Game Boy to play it most of the time because he didn't want me to waste batteries.
Yep.
So I played Game Boy.
Game Boy 8 batteries back in the day.
It did. And I love this game. It is such a good game. It is probably my second favorite Mario game.
Oh, after Mario Land 1?
Yeah. It involves world and the word 3D in it.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
But you haven't played Odyssey, right?
I have not.
Okay.
I have played 64, though.
Okay. No?
Okay, I didn't think so. But yeah, Super Mario Land 2, amazing game. My number 3. How about you, Adam?
My number 3 is Professor Layton and the Curious Village for Nintendo DS. This was one of the first games that made me actually use general smarts instead of just my video game smarts, where it incorporated like brain teasers and logic puzzles and those kinds of things to solve a quest or a investigation that was going on in this town. The really cool thing about this game is everything is done through like these little mini games, and then it's uncovering this huge story. And one of the best things about this game was that the cutscenes were fully animated, almost in like a Miyazaki type form. It kind of reminded me of that. And yeah. And I honestly have never played any of the other ones just because I have such fond memories of this one and how long it took me, and eventually going, all right, I don't understand how the fox needs to cross the water on, on a turtle's back. Yeah, so I need to Google this. But yeah, it just was a lot of fun and so beautifully done. I cannot recommend this game enough.
That's the only one that I actually finished. I think I started Diabolical Box afterwards, and I didn't get all the way into it. But my favorite thing is when Layton would walk into a room and you see like a pile of clothes, and hey, that reminds me of a riddle.
Exactly.
It's just the weirdest way they incorporate these puzzles.
Yeah,
good stuff.
I've never played a Professor Layton game yet. I know of them, but I stay away from puzzle games.
Yeah, it reminds me of like just like books that you would get, where they had like different like logic puzzles and brain teasers in them that just was held together by this beautifully animated game and cutscenes and stuff.
Okay, I've always been interested in it, but just stayed away from it. What about you, Mike? Your number 3.
Are you ready for this, Mike? It's finally happening.
I'm hanging on the edge of my seat.
Number 3
away the bullet trip
is style savvy, fashion forward.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
I've been telling Mike since I joined the show, like, I'm going to talk about this game some way or another on this show. It's going to happen. And so I don't even remember why. I remember I downloaded the demo, and about the third time I played through it, I'm like, well, obviously I just need to get this game.
So which one is it?
This is the fashion game where the name of the game?
Yeah.
Style Savvy Fashion Forwards.
Okay, there's like 3 of them when I Googled. There's Trendsetters, Style Savvy, and Style Fast. So I had to make sure I get it right.
Style Savvy's 1, Trendsetters is 2, Fashion Forward is 3, and then Styling Star is 4.
What the hell am I looking at?
So, seriously, all you do is you dress up these girls in this town, and it's all about fashion. You do their hair, you do their makeup. Every day you can go in and buy new clothes for your shop. And I think the only reason that I even had any interest in this, in checking out in the first place, was because I liked dressing up my Sims so much back in the day. I'm like, well, this game is just that. So I have put an ungodly amount of hours into this game and Styling Star. I eventually got my wife to get into the series too, so we have both played a lot of these games.
I've got so many things I want to say, but I know I can't say.
I'm in the same boat.
I can only imagine what your Steam recommended for you list looks like. The thing is like
the most guilty pleasure game I play. Easily.
I'm so curious about it. I'm going to find it and play it now, though, because there's a few of them that, like, y'all have mentioned, like Percy Jackson, where I'm like,
play it.
All right, well, yeah, this sounds interesting. But the fact that this is so far up on your list after some of the other games that you mentioned, I'm scared.
My top 3 is basically in order by playtime. I've put a lot of hours into this.
Mine's based on what I like.
There's a demo on the 3DS eShop.
Okay, I'm going to check it out. I have to now.
He's been trying to get me to play it one day on the show too.
We got a guest for that episode now, Mike.
I don't know. Can we talk about? Okay, but you were right. You already told me you were going to get this on here on the show somehow. You were going to mention it.
There it is. If you
weren't
have
wrong.
The most cursory interest in fashion, check it out.
I do not.
No, I wear the same things every day, so.
Same here.
If I had money, I'd probably be a little more into it, but I don't.
I still wouldn't be. I would still dress the exact same way. All right, and then we are on to number 2. All right, and I need to pull up my notes that I closed on. My number 2, actually, I had fought with this, what should be my number 2, because there's my 1 and 2 actually just switched places, but my number 2 is a game from 1999 for Game Boy, Pokemon Yellow.
Nice.
One of the best Pokemon games, and the game that I played so much as a kid. I loved Pokemon Yellow. Even though it's the exact same game, Pokemon Red and Blue, almost you have Pikachu and you get all the starters, but it is the best experience of the first gen. Okay, Fire Red mate, but still, we're talking about the original versions of these games. It is the best version that you could have got at that time. It is so amazing. It is such a good game. I played it recently a few years ago, again, before the podcast, and I played through it completely, and I still had fun. I also played it in ×2 speed so I could enjoy it more, but that's my number 2, Pokemon Yellow.
Well, like I said in the Fire Red and Leaf Green episode 104, go back and listen to it. It's such a tragedy that we never got Pokemon Thunder Yellow for the GBA in that remake style. That would have been so great.
Was it coming?
I doubt it, because by then Nintendo was kind of shying away from that third one, except Platinum, I guess.
There's a ROM hack of it, though.
Yeah, that I believe. And there's also Ash Gray, which follows the plot of the show.
I always wanted to play ROM hacks, but last time I tried, bad things happened. I lost my Platinum save, so never again. I was a little pissed about that one. I was at the end of Platinum, about to go fight the Elite Four, and I deleted my save.
We could play Moemon for the show.
And Adam, what is your number 2?
I don't think we really need to talk about it too much. It is Pokemon Red and Blue.
Okay.
I never played Yellow, and when my friend bought it, he was kind of disappointed because we were expecting more. But he was like, no, kind of the only difference is that you have Pikachu following you and you can get all the starters, which he had red and I had blue. So we had the ability to trade and all that stuff. So the fact that I never played Yellow, but I've always heard great things about it. That's why I stuck with Red and Blue, because I mean, it's a classic. It's what got me in the Pokemon. It still is one of my guilty pleasures when I don't know what to play and hey, I can put it on my phone. I can go through and play, and it never gets old. Capturing and the little bugs, like if you hold down the B button on the third rock, it's kind of an automatic catch. And yeah, there's just so much that I could say about Pokemon that you already know. That's it.
It's a great series.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what about your number 2, Mike?
I'm breaking my own rules by including a re-release. This is Persona 4 Golden on the Vita, because
that's okay.
There was no way I wasn't going to put this on this list. It has the best story, the best characters, including Rise, voiced by the always great Laura Bailey. It's a Scooby-Doo game where you're solving mysteries in your little podunk town. And still one of my favorite gaming moments is it prompts you towards the end of the game to guess who the mastermind is behind all these murders of people being strung up in the telephone wires and stuff, just hanging upside down. And it gives you a list of every character you've met up to this point. And I'm just sitting there going through the logic. I'm like, okay, well, this person could do this, and this person could do this. And just guessing it right on the first try based on the information they gave you is such a proud moment for me.
Nice.
It's one of my favorite RPGs of all time. It's so great.
So you said it was you the whole time?
Yeah, it was me. I can't
even remember who the murderer was, and I beat this game. I'm not going to say it on here, but I can't even remember who it was.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly can't remember.
We will do this episode someday. It will happen.
I've only ever played Persona 3, and I realized after that, if the game had Atlas in the name of it, I was probably never going to beat it. And so I never picked up Persona 4 or 5, even though all the great things I've heard about them.
Yeah, you need to set aside 80 to 100 hours for your first playthrough of either of those games.
Exactly.
And you might want a guide because you can fuck yourself in 4 like I did the first time I played it. I got
that is possible.
Halfway through, I got to the dungeon after Reese, like the 4th dungeon, I think, or the 5th, and I fucked myself completely. I started running around doing school stuff and not battling, not leveling up, and then I ran out of days and I was screwed.
Oh, I gotcha. Yep, that does happen.
And then it took me a year before I picked that game up again and finished it. I had to start over completely, and I was really upset. All right. And before we go to number 1, I think we should mention, if we have honorable mentions that didn't make the list, I think we should mention those now.
Absolutely.
I have 5. 2 are completely just, I couldn't put them on the show because they didn't follow my rule. 1, Chrono Trigger, obviously, best version on DS. Final Fantasy VI Advance, really, really good on Game Boy Advance. That is a great game. They added extra stuff. That's the way to play it. I didn't finish the extra stuff because I got my ass handed to me, but
the elemental dragons.
Yeah, I couldn't even get to that dungeon. I tried, and I'm like, no, we're just going to beat the game. And that was the end of that. The 3 other ones are kind of like the ones that are going to surprise you a little bit. Mega Man Powered Up for PSP. We did an episode about that game. A mini. Great game. Mega Man Wily Wars, which is almost on my regular list a few different times, but I kicked it off finally. Because it was the only Mega Man game I ever beat as a kid that isn't X.
Wily's Revenge. Wily Wars is the Genesis one.
Wow, thank you. Wily's Revenge then. I had that wrong. I really liked that game back then. And I remember playing it on my Game Boy at a tennis court. And it stuck with me. And my last honorable mention, which has also been on the show, which Mike needs to play, and so should Adam someday, Bomberman Tournament for Game Boy Advance, which is, you got Zelda in my Bomberman! You got Bomberman in my Zelda!
Oh yeah, that game.
It's really good. Damn good. Episode 11 or 12?
It's up there. It was one of the first ones I remember listening to.
Yeah, it was one of DJ's picks. He introduced me to that game. It's a great game.
Okay. I love Bomberman, so say no more.
It's really good. I would highly recommend Bomberman Tournament. It just doesn't have any lasting effect for me, so that's why I didn't make the list. Well, not like the other games at all, like a mental connection. What about you, Adam? Any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I actually have 3. The first one's Pokemon Pinball.
Mm-hmm.
It is still catching Pokemon, but while playing pinball, it was fun. Put a lot of hours into it, but it just didn't make the list because of other games. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap. I remember playing a lot of it. I know I never beat it. And it kind of upsets me because while we were doing this list, it kept making it up. And I was like, well, I never really beat it. So I can't really say it was one of my top 10 favorite games. I can
help you with that next season if you want.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Because I just love the series. And number 3, it's relatively new, even though it came out a few years ago. It just finally caught wind, and that's Among Us. It started out as a handheld game. The first few times I played a game of Among Us, it was on my phone. I had a lot of fun with it. I just play it more for the PC, so I can't really say it was a top 10 handheld game for me.
I played it once on my phone on a day when I couldn't sleep. I think it was because of RE2 or something. I'm pretty sure it was during that time, but you're right. It is an interesting game.
Yeah.
As far as being sociable, though.
I wasn't sociable. I just sat there and ran and just did my things and see if anyone and try not to be alone. If I saw someone acting suspicious, I'm like, yeah, time to go.
acting sus.
Yeah, acting sus over there, Red.
That whole thing went away a little bit, didn't it? Now.
Yeah, it kind of died down.
That's good though.
I still see it every now and then.
I forgot about Pokemon Pinball though, Adam. So thank you. You reminded me of that game. I remember I got that the day it came out.
There's 2 of them. There's one on the GBA too.
Yeah,
nice. Didn't one of them have a rumble feature? That was the one for Game Boy, right?
Yeah, where it had an extra battery slot for that.
AAA.
Yep.
I remember that.
Yep.
Mike, what about you? Any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I got 5, looks like.
Why isn't Silas Happy in here?
Because it's too good. They are all for the 3DS, though. First is Bravely Default, because it has a great job system and the Bravely/Default system within the battles where you could basically give up turns to use extra turns later in the battle. And they have options to completely turn off the encounter rate or to turn it up to 200% if you're wanting to grind a little bit. But it certainly didn't make the list because of all those reasons the Bill Tucker flew off the handle about a month
episode
ago.
was not released yet.
Oh, okay. Well,
pretty
yeah,
sure.
look forward to that. Where basically it makes you replay most of the game towards the end. It's kind of brutal. Next is Miitopia and Tomodachi Life, which are both games that center around the Miis on your 3DS system. Tomodachi Life is like a life sim where you run an apartment building where all your Miis live and you interact with them. And you can do different stuff every day and whatnot. And then Miitopia is a turn-based RPG that uses your Mii characters, which I finally picked up. Was it last fall, I think?
It was early on in the show when we just started talking a whole bunch, and then, I remember you playing it.
It was pretty much the only thing I played for like 2 weeks, other than whatever we played for the show during that time. Next is not really a game, but it needs mentioned. It's the Nintendo Badge Arcade that used to be something you can download for free on the eShop, and it was basically little gacha machines or little claw machines that you could pick up different badges and use them in place of icons on your home menu for the 3DS. It was really cool, and they always had different Nintendo stuff, and sometimes they had third party, like there were a bunch of Mega Man ones you could get. And sadly, they are on my 3DS that died, and the thing has since been discontinued, so I can't get them again.
Because Nintendo.
Yep. Next is Shovel Knight, which I'm kind of surprised wasn't on Mike's list, but I think you said you didn't play it on
I played on
handheld.
PS4.
Right.
So
I played on the Wii U, so
qualified.
it didn't feel right to put it on here, but it's still a great collection of 3 games, and then King of Cards is also on there, which is less good, in my opinion. But everyone knows Shovel Knight at this point. I don't think I need to go on to it.
Yeah.
And last is Smash Brothers for 3DS, and it's only on here because of the Smash Run mode that is only in that game, where you run around and kill enemies and get power-ups, and then it drops you into a random battle or a race or something towards the end. It's a lot like Kirby's Air Ride, the City Trials mode, if anyone's familiar with that.
I got nothing.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
It's not on the list because Ultimate does everything better except for that one mode.
That's fair.
And I think it's time for our number 1.
Number 1.
And this is an obvious one for me, who people who know, well, should be. I'm assuming you might already know what it is. One of my favorite Zelda games as a kid.
I was gonna say, which Zelda game is it?
Yeah. I haven't played Minish Cap yet. That's why Minish Cap is not on this list. I've never actually played it yet, and I'm going to remedy that next season for this show. My number 1 is Link's Awakening DX for the Game Boy Color, 1998. I played this game so much as a kid because I love Link to the Past, and this was a Zelda game in my hands on my Game Boy Color, my lime green Game Boy Color to be exact. And I played this game so much. It took me. I remember going to my friend's house and we were both playing it together, and it was just such a great experience going through this game. It took me a while to get through it because I just kept getting stuck or just kept having problems. But it's such a great game. It is such a good Zelda game, such a good Game Boy Color game. It's bite size. It is. I never played the remake yet. I will someday, but I'm in a real rush. So, yeah, that's my number 1.
Definitely a good number 1.
How would you?
I love the bug in Link's Awakening where you could equip bomb and arrows at the same time and shoot bomb arrows.
It's not a bug. I thought you're supposed to do it.
Is it?
I'm pretty
sure. I always thought it was a bug.
I don't think it's a bug. Okay.
I can't even remember that.
I do.
So, technically, this is a re-release, and it's been re-released hundreds of times since then.
Oh. Can I guess?
No, it's not Angry Birds now.
It's not Angry Birds. Yeah, go ahead and guess.
Is this Tetris?
It is Tetris for the Game Boy. I mean, it came out in 1989. And the systems that it came out with before that, there was a PC version and stuff. But I have the fondest memories of the Game Boy game Tetris. I learned to play Tetris. It's what my grandma used to give me every time I went over her house to shut me up, was Tetris. And I mean, and I can never play it on a console. I have Tetris Effects and all the other Tetris games, but it never feels right. It needs to be in my hand, and no matter what system it's on, it's tried and true gameplay. It never gets old, and I just love it. So that's why it's my number 1.
Oh yeah, everyone's played Tetris.
Yeah.
I'm one of the lucky few that has Tetris DS somewhere around.
Oh,
That's a good game.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's all Mike got.
Hard to find these days.
yeah.
Mike, did you have Christian's list too that you wanted to mention? Or you want to mention after you do your number one?
I can run through that real quick. I don't have a whole lot to say because the only games I'm familiar with are on my list too. Okay. So her number 10 was Pokemon Picross, which is a free-to-play Picross game where you make silhouettes of Pokemon characters. Number 9 was Style Savvy, Fashion Forward. Number 8 is Adventure Island 2 for the original Game Boy. She said that it was one of the first games she remembers playing, and she had a lot of fond memories with it. Number 7 is Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm. Number 6 is Mario Golf on the Game Boy Color, which is another one that she played early on. 5 is Pokemon Heart Gold. 4 is 999. 3 is also Trials and Tribulations from Phoenix Wright. Number 2 is Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. And number 1 is Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, which is why I'm going to get Guff for saying that series is overrated.
I never played that.
Oh, she loves that series.
I played 1 and 2, and that's as far as I went so far.
They get better.
I own the entire collection on PS4, but I've yet to actually play them.
Yeah, 3's a lot of fun.
Your number 1, Mike. At least I know it can't be Style Savvy now. So
anyone that's listened to, I think it was in the Fire Red episode where I talked about it, it's Pokemon X and Y for the 3DS. I have put more hours into this than probably every other game on my list combined. I've beaten those games at least 30 times. Something crazy. Like, I spend so many time. Like, if I don't know what to play, nothing sounds good, I'll just pick up Pokemon and I'll start a Monotype or a Nuzlocke or a Wonderlock or whatever. It's got such a wide variety of Pokemon in each area, so it makes building a team so much easier. There's so much more variety because of it. Sword and Shield are great. They're super good games, but I will always go back to X and Y because they are my favorites.
Okay.
Nice.
You know, this list went a lot differently than I expected.
This list went exactly like I expected. Figure we're all going to have weird, just completely in left field picks.
Yeah, we didn't have much overlap.
No, just the 2, I think. You guys had Advance Wars, and we had Portrait of Ruin.
And Angry Birds didn't overlap, though. That's odd.
Yeah.
I don't know why that should be on everybody's list, but it's just me.
You're not wrong. It is a really good game. I personally am not like... I played it a little bit, but then I don't like mobile games. I mean, I do like Mario Kart Tour, though, on my phone. But I stopped playing it, now I have absolutely no interest in playing it anymore.
I'm actually surprised Mario Kart DS didn't make a list, because that was one of the games I remembered never owning, but got to play a lot of because of my friends.
I've never played it.
Yeah, all you needed was one person in a group of friends to own it, and then you could share the cartridge and play the whole game.
But you need a group of friends.
Fair enough.
With DS.
Fair enough.
I didn't have the DS part. I had a couple of friends, but we didn't have DSs.
I'd been playing Radiant Historia recently, and I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to finish this game, so I'm not going to keep playing it. And I'm like, well, what should I play? I got Mario Kart 7 on here. I'll play that. And I unlocked like every character or something. It was in a couple of big sit-ins. They're so fun.
Tried and true.
Oh, yeah. Go wrong with Mario Kart. Unless it's on the 64.
Okay, hey, now. Now you're making me have to put that on the show by talking like that. You don't want me to do that.
I don't want you to do that. I don't know what it is about that game, but I completely suck at that one and only that one.
I like 64.
I love 64.
That and the original Super Mario Kart.
Yeah, that one's great. 7 and 8 are awesome.
I've never gotten that far. Unfortunately, I don't know why. There's so many games I haven't played. And I look back and I'm just like, but why? I own some of them.
There's a lot of games out there, that's why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very difficult to narrow this down to 10. Yeah, I wanted to put on Shantae Half Genie Hero, which was super fun. And then weird stuff like Monster Tail and Soul Bubbles for the DS, which I'd be surprised if you'd heard of. I know you heard of Monster Tail because I tagged you in that that thing on Twitter recently where it's getting re-released.
I remember seeing it, and I looked at it, but the memory's gone already.
Soul Bubbles was only released in Toys R Us, so it was doomed from the start, but it's a little puzzle game where you use the touchscreen to blow a bubble around the stage to try to get it to the end.
That cover looks terrible.
Yeah, the art's fine, but...
It's like a naked baby on the cover blowing bubbles.
The gameplay's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm good.
Nope. One Zelda game between the 3 of us.
I haven't played Minish Cap and Oracle are not worth putting on here.
Yeah, Link Between Worlds almost made the cut too.
Oh, but for a DS game that I forgot existed, but as I'm Googling, because of your stupid thing that you just mentioned, a game that I spent a lot of time at DS that I do just want to mention is Zookeeper.
It sounds familiar. Is that
it's a match? It's a VG.
Yeah, match 3. Yeah.
I played a lot of it because it was one of the only couple DS games I had, and I played way too much of it. It's not good. But hey, it's apparently on Android phones.
There was one good DS launch title, and that was WarioWare Touched.
What are you talking about? Mario 64 DS.
Was that a launch title? Pokemon Dash?
So there was a match 3 game, and I think it was made by Heroes of Might and Magic, and I can't remember what it was, and it almost made my list. And its only reason is I can't remember the name of it. But where you would slide your troops into each other, and you would form like a bigger version of that, and then just do line attacks against another army in front of you. It was really good, but to the life of me, I still can't figure out what the name of that game is.
Sounds familiar. I don't think it's the Glory of Heracles.
No,
that's a turn-based RPG.
Clash of Heroes, I think is what it was called.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's also on Xbox 5 back then.
I really like that game.
I want to play Zookeeper now. It's on Android. I found it for $1, but I don't want to buy it for $1, but it's on there. I do.
Not worth $1.
Yeah.
No, I just want to play it for free because I'm going to play it for like 10 minutes and I'll be done with it, but I just want to try it again. All right. I think we should wrap up this episode. I mean, should we do a top 10, like just quickly mention what we had?
Oh, yeah. Run through them real quick.
Okay, sure. I'll go first. Let me pull up my list again. Number 10, Percy Jackson. Number 9, Metroid Zero Mission. 8, DBZ Legendary Super Saiyan Warriors. 6, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. 5, Metal Gear Ghost Babel. 4, Kirby's Dream Land 2. 3, Super Mario Land 2. 2, Pokemon Yellow. 1, Link's Awakening DX. Atom?
I can't remember the order. Infected, PSP, Fire Pro Wrestling, Game Boy Advance, SNK versus Capcom, and Neo Geo Pocket Color, Angry Birds on mobile, Tetris on Game Boy, Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars on Nintendo DS, Pokemon Red and Blue, Advanced Wars, Final Fantasy Tactics, and Professor Layton and the Curious Village.
Okay. And Mike.
Number 10, 999 / Virtue's Last Reward. Number 9. It was my list, my rules. Number 9, Pokemon Trading Card Game. Number 8, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations. Number 7, Kirby Planet Robobot. Number 6, Ghost Trick. Number 5, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. Number 4, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Number 3, Style Savvy Fashion Forward. All my games have colons in the titles. Number 2, Persona 4 Golden. Number 1, Pokemon X and Y.
Okay.
Good
and
stuff.
This was all right. This was fun. This is our first top 10 episode.
This was a lot of fun. Like, I knew it was going to be good, but it kind of exceeded expectations.
This is a whole episode for Mike. This is actually for your birthday. This is coming up around the time people hear this.
Well, happy birthday. Preemptively.
Which I was supposed to mention earlier when we started this, but then didn't happen.
Okay. Well, it was originally going to be out on my birthday. I'm like, oh, whatever. We'll just make it a side thing. It'll be fine.
Everything's a side thing that I do.
Yeah, well.
At this point, with other stuff that isn't
a numbered episode.
Topic should never be a numbered episode.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I know. I'm still salty about it for a couple times. If you can't tell. And since we're about to wrap this episode, and Adam, since you guys, why don't you give a shout out to your podcast?
Yeah. If you like lists, you can occasionally find us doing them over at Talk Games and Chew Bubblegum.
Occasionally?
At least 2 a month. We're doing them. We have fun. They're fun. You just experience. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. You get conversations going, and it's always awesome just to relive some gaming memories, no matter what kind they are. So, yeah.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you like lists, let us know. If you have suggestions for top 10s, I would love to hear them.
You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. You can email us, but I probably won't check it. A game my mom found at yahoo.com. But I don't recommend that. It's there, but I don't recommend using it.
Leave a comment on this YouTube video when it goes up.
The only comments I get are, hey, look at this, subscribe, listen to this porno thing. It's usually all they get. Comments, I delete them, but hey.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, yeah. Get those sometimes.
It's more than what we get.
And if you enjoyed this episode, we have lots of other video games that we covered. We covered actually a bunch of the games that we talked about on here, especially Percy Jackson, which people I've already downloaded 35 times this month, and today's the 7th. So, hey.
That's wild. Absolutely wild.
Came out like 6 months ago, but people like the episode. So definitely go check out all our, we do comics, we do movies. We're going through the MCU movies, so definitely check those out. I'm making us suffer because I didn't realize what I was talking about when I started this. All right. And give a shout out to our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Bobby, a.k.a. Mike Stoney from ZP Bite the Bullet, Sonic the Cool Kid Squad. And we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.